of certainties in life: death, taxes, and Geelong making a prelim final for the last 20 years. It is absolutely ridiculous, and I think it is solely off the back of one man and one man only. That is the best coach in the league at the moment, probably the best coach of the last couple of decades. It is Chris Scott, because this man is a genuine genius. Now, if you are here to watch football, if you are here to watch me break down some football, if you are here to discourse in some football, please feel free to stick around, subscribe. But let's just get straight into it. So this vision is from round 15 when Brisbane trounced Geelong at GMHBA Stadium. I just want you to watch this specific play and see if you can pick anything up. So Harris Andrews with the quick kick out to Levi Ashcroft. The ball doesn't get there on the full, but what does Levi Ashcroft do? It is the quick handball into Starcevic to kickstart this defensive 50 to forward 50 transition. Now, when we look at this wider angle, and I apologise for it being a little bit blurry, I just want you to notice where the Geelong defenders are. So we'll see when this ball gets kicked in. Look at all of the Geelong defenders. So we have Guthrie, we've got Tom Atkins running through the middle, we've got Jack Henry, and we've got Tom Stewart. This is what we call in no man's land. And what does that mean? It means that when Brisbane were able to get this quick handball, that Levi Ashcroft to Starcevic, you're actually able to bypass all of the Geelong defenders who are guarding space. And that is what Geelong have been so good at. That is what makes Tom Stewart an All-Australian for so long. It is his ability to run off of his man, read the play. But you cannot read the play when you give that little quick handball and then you take the short kick through the middle of the ground. So this is what Brisbane was so good at, this quick 15, 20 metre kick, bang, let's get the handball through to the runners in Zach Bailey right here, into Brandon Starcevic. And that is the kick that gets you over the top of all of the Geelong defenders who are guarding space. And as soon as you can do that, you give time and space to your forwards to get in advantageous situations, to get out the back by themselves. He could have kicked anywhere here. Charlie Cameron, Logan Morris gets an easy goal out the back. That is what made Brisbane so good the last time they played Geelong. And I think that when Chris Scott saw that, he was fuming in the box. And when it came to this qualifying final on Friday night, Chris Scott said, this isn't going to happen. This is the one thing we're going to stop. And if we can stop this, we are going to beat this Brisbane team. And now we're looking at the qualifying final from Friday night. So there are a couple of ways that you can stop this overlap handball to the person who is kicking over your spares or over your defenders who are guarding space. The first way is to stop your defenders from guarding space. Now, you don't really want to do that because we understand how good Geelong's intercept players are. They do it a little bit where they just go straight man on man, 1v1 behind the football, but it doesn't happen that often. The next best way to do this, and I think the most effective way to do this, is to overcommit numbers to the person who's going to receive the football. So we're going to see Dane Zorko here, and he does this a lot out of kickouts, where he gets his first one, where he kicks the first one to the uncontested mark. He is always the one that tries to get this football back through the middle of the ground. So Levi Ashcroft is going to go to Jasper Fletcher, and Dane Zorko is going to get this football back. Instead of Brad Close trying to follow him because he knows he's not going to get there, pointing to Shannon Neal, and then look at all of the Geelong players here, alert to the fact that Dane Zorko is going to get this football. So Tyson Stengel is going to come here. He is alert. Shannon Neal is alert. Paddy Dangerfield is alert. Max Holmes is alert. They are all alert that this is where Zorko wants to get the football. We're now playing one-on-one instead of Tom Stewart coming up here and playing in a zone defense like we saw him do before. So as soon as Dane Zorko gets his football, he realises he can't go to Kyle Loman, which is the spot that we saw him do with the Brandon Starcevic one into the middle of the ground in the round 15 clash. And as soon as you do that, look at the collapse of the pressure here by the Geelong defender. So they've overcommitted numbers into this contest. And there are downfalls to this, because if Tyson Stengel misses this football, Brisbane do have a +1 situation right over the top of this. But if you can get it, and if you can put enough pressure on to force a turnover, you are going to get forward half turnovers. And that is what Geelong was so good at on Friday night. And this is an impressive switch to sort of flip between round 15 and now, especially against a team that is so adept at making you look silly with their uncontested marks in Brisbane, because we saw what they could do at round 15 Brisbane against this Geelong defence. But again, look at how quick straight away from a kick out Geelong are to number off. So bang, we've got Brad Close is instantly straight away pointing out the players, going, we need to man up these players one-on-one so that they can't get these uncontested marks. Now Brisbane do end up getting one to Will Ashcroft right here, but look again, they don't have Brisbane don't have the opportunity to give the handball receive, because if he gives the handball receive here, they're running into places where there are one-on-one situations absolutely everywhere. And that is the difference. And that is the difference between the two games that Geelong made. And that's genuine coaching. That's players being able to listen and adapt and be able to sort of synthesize what Chris Scott is trying to teach, or or the entire coaching staff for that matter. And the reason you can do this and the reason you do that is because as soon as Will Ashcroft gives this kick out to here, Lachie Neale's now forced into a situation where he looks up and he goes, we've only got one-on-ones everywhere. We don't have the ability to get an uncontested mark. And that is what Geelong wanted. They wanted to get into these contests where they could win or at least half the contest, get back to stoppage, win the stoppage and go forward. And Dane Zorko, they do this play so often. They pretty much do it every time they do a kick out. Dane Zorko or a Will Ashcroft or a midfielder is trying to get the football here. So look at this. We have the quick kick out to Lachie Neale, and look who's going to get this football. It is Will Ashcroft. But look at all of the Geelong defenders knowing that this is where the ball is going to go. So instead of zoning off completely, Tom Stewart is now roaming free. Jack Henry is watching out the back here. So we saw in the first that Jack Henry was actually situated over here guarding space when Brandon Starcevic got that receive handball in the round 15 clash, which is going to allow, when I said Tom Stewart, I meant Zach Guthrie, Tom Stewart over here. Zach Guthrie to be that roaming man. But when they give this handball up, instead of Ashcroft having an option here through the middle of the ground here, we can see Jack Henry is cutting that option off from Logan Morris, which is forcing Ashcroft to go long to a genuine one-on-one situation here out of the wing with Dangerfield and Josh Dunkley. Now, that is the second way to stop this, is to trust your one-on-one throughout the field. So Jack Henry going to Logan Morris, not allowing him to be the outlet kick, and then trusting that Dangerfield is going to be able to chase down and compete in this contest one-on-one with Josh Dunkley. So those are the two ways that you can stop it. Now, there are obviously downfalls to both of these ways, which we saw, but the coaching difference between round 15 and the qualifying final is beautiful to watch. And when I said there are kinks to this sort of strategy, there absolutely are, but Geelong will live with these sort of situations. So bang, Ryan Lester forced not to go wide and forced back into the middle of the ground. So that's really good frontal pressure from Geelong straight away. But they do get their uncontested mark. Now in round 15, this is where we saw the Brisbane Lions rebound off this half back line. They kicked so many goals from their defensive half and plays like this. And again, Geelong's ability to number off straight away and then force all this frontal pressure and force this pressure into the Brisbane Lions handball game. So Geelong will live with this. They will overcommit numbers 2v1 in a lot of these situations where players will actively leave their men. So Brad Close here in this situation led Starcevic, and that's forced Jeremy Cameron to leave his man, which is going to leave Jasper Fletcher out on the wing here by himself. But Geelong will be okay with this if it forces a handball like this where Ryan Lester is forced to give a 360 turning handball over his head to a player on the outside. Geelong will live with that if it means that 9 times out of 10 Brisbane don't get out of that situation, and then trust their 1v1s forward of the football where they get a contested mark on the edge of the 50. Again, Geelong will live with that if it means that the other times that Brisbane do try and get that handball received, that overlap cut through handball through their uncontested mark game, if it means that they can stop that 9 times out of 10, they will give up the 1 out of 10 times that they get a really good shot on goal, Brisbane. And that's just from really good play from Brisbane. You're not going to stop a really good team every time they get the football, but if you can stop them more often than not, like Geelong were able to do with the tactical change, the coaching change that they did make, you'd be pretty happy sitting in the coach's box if you're Chris Scott. And then I thought the next real feature of Geelong's game, because a lot of their scoring was from their forward half, from those sort of turnovers that we saw before. I think their scoring from the back half was very different between round 15 and the qualifying final, because this is what coaching does. So again, their ability to switch the football. And when I talk about switching the football, there are different types of switches. So we're going to see this play right here from Geelong on Friday night, and I think this is really good. So it's the quick kick here, but it's not the switch to the half switch where you kick into the middle and then you kick to Bailey Smith, or you kick to an Oisin Mullen right here and you go through the middle of the ground. Geelong were committed to genuinely switching the football to the other side of the ground. And the reason you do that, it's pretty simple. We all learned it in junior football, is to bypass all of these Brisbane Lions defenders through the middle of the ground and on the far side of the ground, the skinny side of the ground. The way you can do that, and the why you do that, is because all of these defenders now have to move all the way over here. This is pretty simple football knowledge, but Geelong were able to do that, and they were willing to do that in this qualifying final so they could get really deep quality entries inside their forward 50. I thought that was really good, but it was good because of how bad they were doing that in round 15. So let's have a look at that now. So now we're back at the round 15 matchup, and we've got a really similar situation, a really similar position on the ground. And this is where Geelong struggled last time. So they really tried to move the ball from the middle of the ground to the other side of the ground. Now, Kardinia Park is obviously a lot skinnier than the MCG, but you'd think Geelong would know how to play it considering it is their home ground. So when you don't have that much space and the Brisbane Lions are able to condense on this sort of play, when you don't move the football backwards and then all the way around and you try and take the shortcut to Brian Myers here from Max Holmes, that is when you open yourself up to the Brisbane Lions defensive pressure, being able to take these intercept marks and get repeat entries, which they got in round 15 consistently. And it didn't happen once, it didn't happen twice. We're going to see this exact same situation again. So straight away, as soon as Geelong get this football back, again, Brian Myers trying to go through the middle of the ground really aggressively. But as we saw with Tom Stewart in the qualifying final one, the way to do that is to take the one slightly inboard, get the handball receive or get the kick back and then go all the way around. You can't take the switch 50 metres through the middle of the ground. You're going to take the switch 20 and then 40 to the other side. So as soon as Brian Myers tries to take this one all the way through the middle of the ground, you then open yourself up to get that intercept mark. And this is what Brisbane were really good at in round 15, getting these forward half turnovers. And then on the weekend, on Friday night, it was the exact opposite. Geelong were able to get these forward half turnovers in a slightly different way, but with the same result, kicking goals from their forward half. So Chris Scott is still the best coach in the league. Geelong is still one of the hardest teams to beat because of how good their system is, their structure is, and their ability to adapt their system to whoever they're playing. You're going to have to find a different way to challenge them. You're going to have to find a different way to beat them. And that's going to be really hard to do. But if you like these sort of videos, please subscribe. Let me know what you want to see, and I will see you for the next game. Cheers.